welcome. We are back. I am Lord Raiden. This is Blood Honey. We are continuing on with our Honey's Horror series where we are reviewing the Halloween franchise. Now, we had just watched Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, or Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Now, this one is a very controversial entry in the franchise, to say the least. It's very well known how troublesome the production of this film was and what direction they really wanted to go in. Now, for this review, we watched the theatrical version, which I think makes enough sense considering that, well, it's really her first time watching it, and this is the film that it was most well known to people, of course, for many years up until the producer's cut became more readily available to the public and all that stuff. So, yeah, this one is as I said, very known for having a very troubled production, and the final result is rather a cluster, to say the least. So how do you feel walking away from this one after the fifth one?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess it was kind of weird. I guess I liked it better than the last one. The kills were better.
Yeah.
I was actually rooting for someone to die, which is a little odd.
Not that odd. I mean, of course, there are plenty of horror films out there where you get the dickhead character that you just hope finally gets it. I mean, yeah. I mean, but this film, it starts off with them, what we now know as the Cult of Thorn, and this whole ritual aspect of it, where it's opened up with Jamie, of course, the character from 4 and 5, of course, grown up. Danielle Harris did not return for this one, though she wanted to, but there was trouble with that, so it was a different actress. But regardless, it opens up with her giving birth to the baby, and then Michael is chasing after her, trying to get a hold of the baby, and then he eventually gets a hold of her, and then she winds up dead. And then after that, we follow up with the Strode relatives who have now moved into the old Myers house, and of course that begins to unfold as to why they're there. And of course it's the very dick-headed father character that lives in the house. He never told the family what happened in the house, and he had moved there because they couldn't sell it. And so from then on is where all the massacre begins to occur. Now, as far as kills with this movie, I would say it is an upgrade from the previous movie, at least in this version. I know that the producer's cut is it's a bit more toned down, but you do get the better explanations as to what is actually happening. So yeah, you were pretty satisfied with the kills, it seemed like, watching this one.
Yeah, if I'm gonna watch one of these horror movies where they're known for killing people, I want them to actually kill people, not just kind of off screen, then the character died. Show me a friggin' person run through with a whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I will give them that the kills in this one are pretty solid. I wouldn't say anything is really bad about the kills at all. No. I mean, as far as the effects and just in terms of all that they show you, it does do that very well. The problem with this movie is that, it just has no real direction. No one knew what they wanted to do. Everyone was jumping down each other's throats behind making this movie. And while I will say that I have seen the producer's cut, and while it does help fill in the overall plot details, I would say it's still technically not much of a better film, because it's still rather absurd as to what the hell they're trying to pull off with this movie. It just gets to the point where it's a sequel, it's a late sequel, where of course you have to find something to do, so you have to over-explain the origins of the killer, whoever, and really just try to make the lore make sense, but in the process really just make it more of a major confusion for the audience. Now, how do you feel about the whole cult aspect and how they executed that whole thing? And do you think it works better in a way, or do you think it works better just not knowing anything?
It's I know that Loomis had talked about Sam Hain and all that before. I don't remember if he said Thorn specifically.
No.
But,
I mean, because it was in the last one, you do get a shot of the thorn tattoo on Michael's wrist.
yeah.
But before that, no mention of the whole thorn thing.
No, because I know he's talked about that mythos before, and I guess it was interesting to see that sort of introduced, I guess. So
yeah. As far as mythos, it's like it was again playing more on the fact that Michael is just this pure evil entity for
that was
for like really just not understanding what he is. But again, this film tries to explain that. And like I said in the last movie,
it was a couple movies ago where I'm like, he's just like the embodiment of evil.
Yeah, and of course that was the original concept of the character. He's just this blank slate, just goes around. He has no real rhyme or reason to what he's doing. But again, it's just a sequel to this late in the franchise where they got to do something. So, and again, the last film they didn't even know what direction they were going in. Then they filmed that movie, they finished it, and they're just like, yeah, leave it up to the people who are doing the next movie. We'll let them figure it out. And so you get Dr. Wynn, the one character that Dr. Loomis is speaking to at the beginning of this movie. It shows as the twist that he's the villain and he's the one helping to make all this stuff happen, controlling Michael and all that. And again, the producer's cut, they do go into greater detail for better or worse as to how it all kind of works. But yeah, it's just, and which I think the Dr. Wynn character also, I think he's technically a character, if I remember correctly. He is a character that was technically in the first movie where Loomis is walking out to his car and he says, oh, well, yeah, he was doing very well last night with the driving and all of that. I do think he was that character, just that little snippet of a character that they kind of reintroduced here to show that there was some continuity between the first and this one. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is the case. But yeah, so moving on, and this movie is the introduction to Paul Stephen Rudd, who of course now is probably mostly known for doing Ant-Man at this point, and he's also the man who never ages. In this film, you could probably say he's arguably looks exactly the same. But Clueless was a film that was released first, though he did film this movie first. It came out after the fact, so there is that. And his performance in this movie is an interesting one. I think
the character though, so you just gotta play to how it's written.
Yeah, but it's
to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, but it's well talked about with fans how his performance in this movie is just generally very, very odd. I think if I remember, he probably did it deliberately because he knew just what it was. It's just like, yeah, this isn't really that great of a script, so I'm just gonna kind of ham it up a bit. Because he's goofy as hell. He just comes across as a bit of a creep for the most part. You feel the same way, I would assume?
Well, I guess having technically been the little kid from the first one,
yeah,
you grow up and you have some sort of psychological problem.
Yeah, and I get that, but still, he was still just almost a little too goofy for this movie, and just, I don't know. It's something to laugh at, if anything. But the thing about this movie, again, it's hard to really review it just because I feel like it's the first time I watched it, it just felt like scenes. Like it just goes from one thing to the next. And you just like, well, what the hell am I watching? I really don't know what I'm watching. So as far as a more competent film, I'd say 5 is more competent, even with the producer's cut of this film. Comparing that, I would say that it's not as good as far as that. This time, though, I was a little bit more entertained watching it. So as far as general entertainment, I'd say it's better because 5 was pretty boring, which, yeah, walking away from 5, you did feel the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. But this one was better.
Yeah. Mask was better too, right? Obviously, I would say.
A bit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still partial to the original, but
for some reason they just had a real hard time replicating the original design of this movie, or the original mask. I mean, eventually it definitely got better with the most recent film in the franchise. But
well, also, I mean, I could totally understand if you can't get the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But if you can replicate hard version, like Jason has his hockey mask thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can make it look good and it works, and you can
I would just feel as far as like technology, as far as like talent, I feel like it still wouldn't have been that hard to have made it. Like again, Part 5's mask was like way wonky as hell. I was like, how, like you really could not have molded a better mask than that. I don't know, that's just me. Yeah. Again, so the chase, it's all throughout this movie, and them trying to get a hold of the baby because to continue on the whole bloodline of the Cult of Thorn. That's Michael's job, is to kill the whole bloodline, and for them to do this whole, it's just, I honestly don't care, because it just gets so crazy that I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But by the end of this movie, I mean, it gets to be a pretty good splatterfest, I'd say. The scene with the doctors, them slashing them up, although they should definitely give people with issues with the strobing lights a bit of a warning.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm like, hello, seizures.
Yeah, it was probably a bad call. I mean, it's kind of cool when you see it.
Yeah, if they air that on TV, maybe they should add that.
Yeah, you would think
random TV people out there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you would think with any movie, with any movie with strobing lights like that, I think sometimes they do it, but this one is just like, you should really tell someone about that. Yeah, that one scene in
particular. It's towards the end, but still.
I would say we'll wind up reviewing maybe the producer's cut a little later on, but again, this one makes sense considering that this is what the product of what we had for years leading up to people actually having the producer's cut. So all in all, how you feel about it walking away, and how would you rate it?
I liked it better than the last one. It almost had a number 3 feel to it. Not as weird as those masks and everything, but still not as good as the first. I think even the second one was a little bit better.
Oh, yeah.
But it was alright. Definitely weird. I don't know if I want to know how or why Jamie was pregnant.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Does that get explained in the producer's cut? Because
I believe, yeah, it does. But I could tell you, and you would probably think like, of all the things. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I want to drop that bombshell on you just yet. Maybe later.
Okay.
Yeah.
That bothered me. I'm like, I want to know. Not really.
Okay, the fact that you say that, like I said, it's, if I tell you, it would be an interesting one. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. For me, I enjoyed it a little bit more this time. It's just generally entertaining, but as a film as a whole, on a technical level, it's pretty trashy. And of course, this was Donald Pleasant's last appearance as Dr. Loomis. He had died before they actually released the film, and before they had done the producer cut, reshoots and stuff like that. But all in all, yeah, it's just a mess of a film. The fifth one technically is better. This one a little bit more entertaining, but it's not saying much. Overall, I'd probably give it like a 1.5 just as a whole. It's just such a mess of a movie. It's hard to really take it that seriously. And I appreciate them for trying to do something, but honestly, it was just a major fail on all fronts. But Donald Pleasance does do a really good job yet again, though. I will give him that, of course. But
yeah, I'm gonna miss him. I really did like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too.
So
yeah. Anyway, that is our review of Halloween 6, the theatrical cut. I hope you enjoyed, and we will see you next time.